Well, hello, everyone. This is Angela Hooper-Menifield with Menifield and Associates. And today is Monday, October the 12th, and we're here for our HR moment. I know some of you may have actually had the day off if you work in banking or perhaps some type of federal employment that or organization that honors Columbus Day. I know a lot of organizations don't. Most of my clients are actually working today, other than those who are government. But anyway, it's Monday, and as we typically do, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is our HR moment. And so I think I should first apologize for the confusion. Um, I believe my StreamYard converted time zones, but my computer didn't. So I scheduled it for 5:20, and just now when it was time to go, because I live in time zone, it was going early, which suggests that it wasn't ready for me. So that's okay. We're a little early today. Well, we're on time, but according if you're following the post early. So that at least explains the confusion if there was any. So again, we apologize for that, and I'll take note of that. As for the next week plus, I will be on Central Time Zone, so that'll help with that. So it's been a good week. Just a couple of reminders. I want to remind you again to download the podcast, The Pulse of HR, and you can also go to thepulseofhr.com. And our next episode 2, is actually all about recruitment, and it will be dropping on Wednesday. Again, we're a bi-weekly podcast, so just want to remind you again, if you subscribe to our thepulseofhr.com, you'll actually be able to be notified. And if you subscribe on whatever platform, iTunes, Google, Spotify, whatever, it will let you know as well. So, today I was having an interesting conversation with one of my mentees. And again, new supervisors is our space. And so this young person is about 24 years old and newly supervising a team. And in their discussion, we began to talk a little bit about some absenteeism with their office. And so I was, explaining that I could understand why a person would need to be out for some of the things that this person was out for. And so, what I found to be an interesting part of this conversation was that there was concern that the person or the employees may be taking advantage of them. This is a common message that we hear with supervisors when we do a lot of our supervisory training, that they're concerned that their team may be taking advantage of, their kindness. We've all heard the saying, right? And probably even used it. Don't take my kindness for weakness. And there are a lot of people with some just genuinely compassionate hearts. They're really thoughtful and considerate. And so, in being who they are naturally, there can be concern that they're being taken advantage of. Hey, Jan, how are you? And so, I really thought this was a good, topic to talk to. And so, we coached through it, but it just led me to think that, perhaps this is something we should talk about for our HR moment. And so, as supervisors and leaders and people who make decisions and have to approve leave or time off or not, I think it's important that, number one, we agree to always err on the side of benefit of the doubt, right? Sometimes we've had conversations about assigning noble intent. And so I would say the same thing is here with our teams, with our employees. I think it's really important to always assign noble intent. So, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is until they give you a reason to believe that they've deceived you, let's just take everything at face value. So often we feel obligated to think into what's the why behind this. Well, why are they saying this? Why can't we just focus on what was said, what was requested, and deal with the facts? And so, number one, I think we should assign noble intent. But here's the real biggest problem with being concerned about a person not being truthful with you. It it causes you to operate in a place of paranoia. As a leader, as a supervisor, that's not who you want to be. You want to always have an energy of confidence and, that you're well aware of what's happening. And let's just be transparent. Can any of us really stop somebody from being dishonest? A long time ago, I'll never forget, a mentor of mine at the time said to me that you can outlive a lot quicker than you can disprove one. And so on the flip side, whereas the lie is not about us, I'm saying is if a person's lying, their track record will give you that evidence. Like you don't have to walk around paranoid. So what I do suggest we do though, when we begin to get concerned that perhaps our kindness is being taken for weakness and that people are manipulating their privileges or the allowances that we allow as supervisors, is that we just make sure we have a really good procedure in place, like paper trail and how we manage things. So in this particular situation, we were talking about attendance. Again, a person being sick, needing a day here, saying they have an appointment there. Well, what does the office employee handbook say, or what do your protocols say? Like, for how many days absent does it require for you to ask for medical documentation in order to approve it? Because if one day here or there is something that causes you concern, then, what some organizations do, and specifically once we put people on leave restriction, so maybe it's not what we do initially, but what we often do is say, you have to give us at minimum the number of hours of notice that you're requesting. So if I woke up today on Sunday and I wanted to be off for a day, um, I would have literally, which is an 8-hour day, have to given you 8 hours notice in order to take my sick leave. Now, of course, there's always emergencies. And again, that's where the paperwork comes in place. So if I wake up really ill or I'm sick and I need to go to the doctor, then that doctor's note would be that documentation that I would bring. Sometimes doctors, and of course, right now, a lot of appointments are telehealth, will do that. There have been times when, because I knew it was a requirement, I actually went to some kind of urgent or minor medical facility because I couldn't get in to see my doctor, but I knew I had to document my absences, right? But those are some things, and again, it needs to be clear, defined, what are the expectations, and everybody should be required to have to address it. But these are some things we can do to ease our mind. And the other thing is just get good documentation, like on the leave request, ask them to fill them out, ask the pertinent questions. Now, you can't ask people again what is wrong with them. So, as a supervisor, if you've been guilty of that, I'm going to ask you to stop because this begins to cross the line of what we consider PII and our private medical information. So, as an employee, I don't have to tell you what's wrong with me. All I have to tell you is I'm unable to come to work. This is my prognosis. And I can't lift. I can't, I'm on medicine that prevents me from operating heavy equipment. I'm on bed rest. Like I can tell you what my prognosis is and how long that will exist, but I am not obligated to tell you why I'm in the bed or why I can't work or why I'm on medicine. So in that case, like I said, we can ask pertinent questions on the leave request. Like, is this family medical? Is this for personal? Is it for self or for others? Expected time off, and whatnot. But again, if it's for 2 or more days, for some people it's 3 or more days, you can then ask for that information and require it in order to approve that request. If a person is, again, routine, so they're off like every Monday. And I may have told you guys this story before, but like one time, especially when I managed a graveyard shift, so had to get there at 11:30, shift started at midnight. I had a guy on my shift, and this is when I worked in California. He was a diehard 49ers fan, and he would wear this jerseys. And of course, I've always been a big football fan. So I knew what that represented, and I knew when the 49ers play and being on the West Coast and all of that, right? And there became a pattern. So this gentleman would often be off or not show up Sunday midnight, which is our Monday. And so when you begin to see a pattern, you can do a leave restriction that way. What you can say is, I've noticed the pattern, over the last 5 Mondays, you've missed 3 or 4, whatever. So as a result of that, in order to continue to miss on Mondays, um, I'm going to need a medical excuse, right? Because I'm making it clear there's a pattern. You only seem to get sick. And, the weekends the 49ers had a bye, he was there. So there was clearly, I'm I'm watching a football game, probably drinking some beers, and we talked, so I knew it was true. And he couldn't come to work, but that's not my problem, right? Like as much as I love football, that's not my problem. We need you here at midnight Monday. Um, so again, in those cases where there is a pattern of abuse, pattern of missing that appears to be abusive, you can put a person on leave restriction. But I say all this to say, these are just ways to address it proactively versus operating in a headspace of people are lying to me, or because I'm nice and I care about them and I always send my employees cards, and I think about them and I care about their grief and when somebody dies in their family or whatever, that now I think they're taking advantage of me. Because again, it affects you more than it affects them. You walk around with this energy of distrust, and then that, when we think about energy, and again, I think you guys know I'm big into that, right? Energy can only do one or two things, right? Express itself or expand. So when you operate in a space of distrust, it releases to the workforce. And so now there's this energy present, and before you know it, even things you used to not be suspicious of, you're now suspicious of. So don't do that to yourself, right? Because you're hurting you actually more than you're hurting the person. The other thing is this, and I think this is where I will leave you is, would you rather? Would you rather have trusted someone that lied to you than accuse someone of lying that was telling you the truth and was really going through a hard time? I mean, think about it. Which feels worse? Now, I can only tell you which feels worse for me. The one that feels worse for me is to have wrongly accused someone of being dishonest or over scrutinizing them or putting them through more angst, and they really were sick, or they really did have an emergency. Like, burden on me. It's just really not worth it. So I would rather give everybody the benefit of the doubt, or as we say, assign noble intent until they give me reason not to. And then deal with that on a case by case basis. So everybody starts at an even footing, right? Everybody has a clean slate. I don't even care if like somebody told me, oh, this person is notorious for making things up or missing work. Okay. That was with their other boss, because what I'm going to do when I first come in is have a conversation and say, okay, so, one of my favorite sayings is, let's draw a line in the sand. I don't care what you did yesterday. Today is Monday, October 12th. I'm the new supervisor here. I'm really happy to be here. And guess what? Let's lay out my expectations as it pertains to attendance. And then I lay those out and I just explain to everybody, unless you give me a reason to doubt you, I won't. And when you make up reasons and pretend you're sick and do those other things, you're not hurting me. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting your team because you're not here and we need you. And I do believe that over time, everything that's done in the dark will come to light. And so I'll find out. I'm not worried about that, right? And so that's my energy. And then I move forward. So I don't let other people create my opinions of my team members, regardless of what happened in the past, because everybody can grow up, everybody can mature. But we don't want to be those supervisors who are paranoid, who are afraid that somebody is not telling them the truth. trust me when I say you will eventually find out. So just ensure you are following the procedures, whether you have an HR department or not, the policies that you said you would follow for, the HR term is lack of candor, right? Because so we don't call people lies. We write them up for lack of candor. But whether that's lack of candor, leave abuse, leave restrictions, whatever those things are, just make sure we put those practices in place so that we can fall on them appropriately when we need to. Okay? All right. So again, I encourage you keep being the positive, encouraging, compassionate supervisors that you guys are, because that's the kind of person people want to work for, right? People that care about them. You know, um, One of the most famous leadership quotes is people don't care. People don't care what you know. They, oh, people need to know that you care about them, right? But they don't care about what you know. And so when we operate in that space, again, trusting people, giving everybody noble intent and the benefit of the doubt, they know um, that you care about them. So people don't care how much you know until they know how, excuse me, until they know how much you care. Excuse me. So, John Maxwell is quoted saying that and many others, but it's really true. I need to know you care about me. And that's in all phases of life, right? So, anyway, thank you so much, guys, for listening. I hope this HR moment has been helpful. Again, we just want to encourage you to follow our podcast, which is designed for both HR professionals as well as for supervisors, because so many of you don't have HR departments and you need a little help. You need a little guidance, or you think your questions are not important enough to ask it. You don't have that confidence build up. So feel free to let our podcast guide you. Again, The Pulse of HR, thepulseofhr.com. You can find us on iTunes, Google, Spotify. I think there's one more I can't remember, but we're pretty much on all the bigger platforms. We'd love your support, myself and Robin K. Butler. Please subscribe and also download. Don't just listen, because that's how podcast views or listens are really calculated. So please download and support us. Next episode will be released on Wednesday, midnight, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So we appreciate the support. Thank you guys again. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. I am in travel status this week, but I do believe we shouldn't have any problem taking care of our HR moments. Worst case scenario, we'll do a replay. But anyway, have a great week. And don't forget to keep sending your questions, inboxing, or messaging. I appreciate them, and so does the community. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.